I'm Ayla.
Hi, I'm Beth Ann.
And this is Let's Talk BL, a Boys Love podcast.
Well, welcome back to the podcast. It is Sunday, Series Sunday, where we talk all about one series and one series only, chock full of spoilers. So, if you have not watched the series, again, an oldie but a goodie.
Yes, another old. We're hitting the classics.
I love this
season.
for us. Yeah, for sure. Then go watch it right now because y'all, we're talking Together with Me.
Together with Me.
MaxTul.
Yes.
Like it's if you are a BL fan, there are those ships that you find before the shows, right?
Right. You know MaxTul before you can figure out what it is they're in.
100%. And that will then lead you to their show. And the first show, I guess, right? Because Bad Romance was a prequel. Right.
So, well, okay. It's very much like
it's
like a kiss me again, dark blue kiss scenario where Bad Romance came out first, but Together with Me is the prequel.
Right.
To Bad Romance.
Right. So, this was technically their second thing together, but truly started with a bang.
Yes.
Okay,
we know you love this joke.
I do. I get to use it again
so much.
Upcoming episode.
No spoilers.
No spoilers. So here are the nuts and bolts. It came out in 2017, which in BL years is like
a million years ago. This is 20 years ago, to steal a phrase from some boys we recently talked to.
It is on YouTube under TV Thunder, except for episode 1, which is pretty funny.
And I have a theory as to why episode 1 is not on YouTube on TV Thunder's official channel. And I think it has to do with that start with a bang. It has to do with TV Thunder not wanting to get hit with that content rating.
True. Yeah, that makes sense. But shout out to Lazy Subber. If you get into BL and you come across Lazy Subber subbed content, because back in the day, before like things really got subbed in English, this person was like doing the Lord's work.
Truly. And with the translator notes, this is where Lazy Subber shines.
Yeah. I just want to send Lazy Subber some like
a money bouquet.
Yes. Because their translator notes, especially on Together with Me and I think 2 Moons, right? Where they're like
2 Moons, they have fantastic translator notes.
I love it.
Which I frequently will watch shows through their official channels and then I will go back and look for Lazy Subber clips.
Yeah.
Because there are so many things that get lost in translation that I'm like, this doesn't make sense. I don't understand it. And those translator notes are truly golden, especially for these older BLs where there's so much cultural context.
Yeah. I appreciate that. There's also a Twitter account that does a lot of cultural stuff,
right?
Which I really appreciate, because when you're just translating from Thai to English, especially with Thai, I feel like a lot of things get lost in translation.
I mean, I think that's with many languages, is where if you're translating word for word, it doesn't always work. And we have noticed this, and we have found this in trying to just communicate.
Yeah,
that if you're translating word for word, it just doesn't always work. And so the translator notes are really helpful. But no matter which translation you watch for Together with Me, like you're gonna get the full package.
Also, fun fact, the person who wrote this series, or the manga for this series, wrote Not Me, which is very interesting. I wonder what Together with Me, if that was a fanfic. If you know.
I hope it was a GOT7 fanfic.
I hope so too. And also the director, they were involved in SOTUS. So it's one of those things with the early BLs, the web of behind the scenes people were involved in so many other things, because it was like so small back then, and it's still small now, but it is interesting to see kind of that web. And then you have Korn, played by Max, and Knock, played by Tool.
Of course.
Okay, let's get the synopsis.
Alrighty. Synopsis, and there's a very important line right at the beginning. This story takes place before the events of Bad Romance, the series. Just in case you were curious.
Literally never heard of Bad Romance until like recently. I think when we were going back and like watching Together with Me. Like I don't think I like interacted with it at all when I first watched Together with Me.
So when I first was trying to find Together with Me, I knew this situation because I was just trying to find the show, right? Because again, MaxTul is one of those ships where it's like, you know the ship before you know the show.
Yeah.
And I was like, how do I watch the show? Where is it? Like I was just like Googling.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay. So Childhood friends Corn and Knock reunite in college, but their relationship complicates after a night of passionate sex.
Oh, passionate.
Knock has a girlfriend, but at the same time has mixed feelings for his best friend. Corn loves Knock, but he is doing his best to keep his best friend living a happy life with his best friend. How will they learn their feelings for each other? Will they date? How will they face a backlash from society? So they really want you to know that they're best friends.
Truly.
Whoever wrote this.
I feel like the synopsis was written from Knox web postings.
Right. From, yeah. So I guess let's just jump right into it then. Yeah. Again, as you mentioned, this has a passionate beginning.
That opening scene truly is so funny because it's every BL fan in every series ever where the two girls are like, now kiss.
They literally like, go, now kiss.
They're like, and Knock, I think, is the one who is like talking about the girls kissing and is like, you call that a kiss? That's not a kiss. And truly, Max and Tool show you what a kiss is.
Right. This brings us back to the whole like I'll kiss you till you fall, or right? What is that line?
Kiss you till you drop.
Kiss you till you drop.
Yeah.
And you're like,
no BL boy has actually done that except for MaxTul.
Pete Cow do it.
Yeah.
In Dark Blue Kiss.
True.
Yes.
Yeah. And also this series I remember because like I started with some pretty spicy series, and then I went into like Together and Sodus and like all those like older GMM TV shows that are pretty like tame. And then I came to Together with Me that gets spicy. And then these two girls end up being like, I don't know what exactly they are, if they're just like party girls who like steal the money at the end of the night.
Yeah.
Which is
amazing.
I just love how they're like, this is what we get. I'm like, you got to hang out with MaxTul and you're like disappointed that you can't steal more money from them.
Well, to be fair, they're hanging out with Corn and Knock.
True. Very true. But I just love this show. Has a lot. Like, it has great side characters. It has great just like storylines. There's a lot of different storylines, which
there's a lot going on. This show I actually did I will admit I watched on double time in a few places through a few storylines, right? You know, you 2x it. Just because there's a lot here. And so this was an interesting find for me because, again, like I knew MaxTul.
Yeah.
But I hadn't watched any of their show, because at that time Manor of Death was like currently airing when I first like found BL. And I started obviously with History 3 Trapped, which does not start with a bang. Right? It's pretty much a slow burn. And then I immediately moved on to Tarn Type. Actually, that's not true. My first Thai BL was Love Mechanics, which also starts with a bang.
Which is pretty spicy for like a mini series.
Right. So, and then after that was Tarn Type, and then I transitioned into the like more tame ones.
Yeah.
And so when I found my way back to Together with Me, I was like, this makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of how that was my introduction to Thai BLs, were the ones that started intensely.
Yeah.
And so I was like, this makes perfect sense to me. Like it did not throw me off at all.
So let's talk about the Corn and Knock of it all. These two friends who are like besties since childhood and then like reunite in college. Because a lot of times I feel like that is a trope where they know each other in childhood. They like somehow disconnect because like for whatever reason.
It's very Tanhan Chanlati. In fact, it's almost exactly Tanhan Chanlati in that, they grew up together in this like river town, this river province, and they get older and move away for like high school, which is exactly what happens in Tanhan Chanlati. Right. Obviously, Together with Me did it first. Yeah. Together with Me paved the way, y'all. But and then they end up, it's actually a very, very cute, sweet scene, which is actually how the show starts. The show actually starts with them reuniting.
And it's very,
I feel like we're all just like so taken aback by like that first that party night that we're like, this is how the show starts, but it's not really. It actually starts with them reuniting. And it's really cute because you see them like see each other across the cafeteria and they're doing the like
the
freshy
hazing,
stuff. And so like Nox's face is painted like a cat or something.
Yeah.
And it's just like, and they're like, oh my God. And they're like so excited to reunite. It's very cute.
This is one of those shows where once you get into MaxTul, like there are certain moments where you're like, that's no longer Nock and Corn. That's just MaxTul.
Yeah. Although, we say this, and I think we say this a lot about a certain degree of actor.
Yeah.
But one thing that I've noticed when I was watching a lot of the behind the scenes is that Max and Tool are actually very professional with all of this.
Yeah.
That like it genuinely is Nock and Corn, not Max and Tool.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, there are some moments that you're like, Max is having a lot of fun with Tool. Because Tool's character goes through it in this show.
He goes through it.
And I feel like that is Tool. Like, from what I have seen from just like other interviews that he's done, he is so like, he's like pretty serious. He's very ambitious. Like he has all these things. And so I think he overthinks things a lot of times. And so just imagine like he's very similar to this character.
Maybe. And I wonder if he would be offended by that.
I know. I wish I could ask him. It would be so interesting to know. And so, yeah, these two characters, I also love the like, some of this feels early 2000s, even though it was like 2017, where he like goes to the internet to like.
Right. He goes to an online forum, right? So the show starts, they hook up, and then Nock truly is like, oh my God, what have I done?
Going through something.
He is the epitome of a boy who's going through something, who's just going through something. And he goes to the internet and he's like, I had sex with my best friend. Am I gay? Like, I don't but what do I do? I have a girlfriend, all this stuff. And it truly, I mean, and this is the thread throughout the entire series is him workshopping what he's going to do and how he feels with who he thinks are strangers on the internet, but are actually his friends and like classmates, and like Korn's sister is involved with the forum posting,
which is a cute reveal at the end. It's very, you ready for it? It's very You're My Sky with the basketball team. Where it's like they're trying to hide it, but like everybody knows.
It all comes back. It always comes back to You're My Sky at this point.
But yeah, that like online forum. Also, I feel like Nock very much compartmentalizes everything that he's going through, right? Like he has this girlfriend who he like doesn't really have feelings for anymore. He's just like trying to be the nice guy and trying to like not put her through something.
Well, and I think he also is he's not ready to accept that
himself.
Yeah. And so he's like, no, I'm going to keep playing this part because this is me and this is who I was.
It's very Tanhan Chanlati, right? Where it's like we have this expectation from our family or from society that says we should be a certain way, and that like they stick so hard to that instead of thinking about like truly how they're hurting other people around them by just like trying to like stick to the status quo.
But them going through it is so funny because very early on, when you meet Nock's girlfriend for the first time, right? When she goes back to his hometown and they're like walking on the riverbanks, which conveniently is like the day after. And
because she surprises him.
Right, she surprises him at home. And they meet up and they're like, going to the markets and doing just like touristy stuff. She has bought him like a couple outfit, so they're in a couple outfit.
Yeah.
And because they've gone home, I believe, for his birthday.
I don't remember.
And maybe not. Maybe I'm just making that up. That's totally possible. But they're all walking along the riverbank, and Yiwa's there. Yiwa, shout out my girl Yiwa.
I need to watch Bad Romance because Bad Romance is all about
It's about Yiwa. Yeah.
She's wonderful.
Shout out my girl Yiwa, the original best girlfriend.
Yeah.
Like, she is truly an angel amongst humans.
Truly.
A diamond, a gem. This girl, I love her. She's perfect. She's never done anything wrong. You're wonderful.
Her and Sammy, I feel like are very similar. Like, they're on that pedestal.
I mean, yeah, but like, Yiwa is the tip of the top.
Yeah.
Yiwa is like the Mother Earth goddess of all best girlfriends.
If you get cast in a BL as a best friend, go study her.
Right. Go look at Yiwa and her actions. And like, she's funny and she's perfect and she's beautiful. Conveniently, the friend in Love Mechanics and End of Love is also named Yiwa, and she's also an A+ best girlfriend.
True. Fingers crossed that she stays that way for the full series.
I know. Anyways, so Yiwa is there, chill, hanging out with Korn, and Nock and Plurn, yes. Is it no?
Plurn playing.
It's a double P situation. Plurn playing. So Nock and
not
Plurn
the
playing.
Makeup artist.
Right. Not Plurn. Plurn would never. Are doing their like coupley market day sitch.
Yeah.
And they end up meeting up when they're trying to avoid each other, which is so funny.
So
right?
Cute.
Like they try to hide from each other and they end up in the same place. And Yiwa catches them and she's like, why are you guys acting like psychos?
I love her. She just calls it like it is.
Yeah. She's fully like, why are you guys acting insane? Like, what's wrong with you? And they're like, oh, like it's nothing. Like, I don't know. I'm trying to smoke a cigarette. Like,
yeah. I just realized it starts and ends the same way with Yiwa being the like person that is like bringing them back together of like, this is okay. Like, you do you.
Yeah, she's wonderful. She's perfect. I love her.
But yeah, that moment where Korn grabs
with the coconut water, yes,
or not grabs Korn, and Korn is just like, what do I do? I'm like, he just grabbed your wrist, like pull away from him, like he's not meaning to, like he's not.
Well, but he's enthralled with it all. It's not. I don't think it's that he's confused. I think it's that he's like,
because in that moment you're like, oh, maybe there's more feelings that he has than like they just like hooked up.
Well, you also at this point in this series, I don't think you know that Korn is gay, is like an openly gay man.
True.
Because it's revealed later on in the series that he has an ex-boyfriend.
Yeah.
And his ex-boyfriend is crazy and we hate him.
He's beautiful though.
He's in the Faculty of Science and like he's the worst. And we all know the Faculty of Science are the worst.
He's very much a Whiplash character, right? Where he's like fighting to get back with Korn, but then he like comes to Yiwa's rescue, right?
Right. And so like it's so
But
weird.
then he's like on the side with the bad girls.
And
but
he's on the soccer team that like breaks.
There's so much.
He's on the soccer team that breaks Nock's leg.
Yeah.
And it's very strange. Anyways, I don't like him regardless.
Also, this whole opening episode sets the stage for like Plurn playing, like having some like hardcore suspicions about Nock and Korn.
Okay, and what's interesting about that is her suspicions begin with like this wrist grab situation, which is so weird to me because I'm like, if I saw that, I wouldn't be like, they're hooking up.
Yeah.
Like I would not immediately assume that.
I would just be like, guys.
I would be like,
what's happening?
Y'all understand what's happened here?
Yeah.
Right? Like, because
laugh it off. Haha.
Right. Because it's obvious that Nock doesn't realize like what's gone on. And the look on Korn's face is like amusement. Right. Yeah. And so like the fact that she gets suspicious from that leads me to believe that she's just like a suspicious girl.
Oh, 100%. But also I think the fact that Nock goes through it over every little thing, right? Like he was so distraught that he grabbed Nock or Korn instead of
Plurn playing.
Pee-pee. Oh, not helpful.
Do not disparage the name of Pee-pee in this household, ma'am. How dare you?
Sorry. So yeah, there's so much that goes on in this first episode, and then you have this whole series of literally just like not going through it, and Korn
and
being
he's
this,
continuously
like, very
posting,
stable, like got it together, but like truly does love Nock and is trying to be his best friend, but also protect himself and his boundaries and being like, I love you. Like I can't pull myself back and just be your best friend anymore. Like I want us to be more, and I'm like doing things above and beyond that, and you're hiding me from your girlfriend, and that makes no sense, because if we were just best friends and there were no feelings, then like why would you have to hide me from your girlfriend? Like there's so much.
I don't know. What's interesting, I actually think, despite how kind of ridiculous this show can be at times, that they actually handle themselves in a very emotionally healthy way. Because from the beginning, in this very first episode where like we run into each other and we have the like wrist situation, they have a conversation later that night because some food has been given to Knock, and so Knock is like, I'm gonna return the lunchbox or whatever. And he comes over later that night, and he actually swims over.
So dramatic.
Which I was reading an article about the behind the scenes of this series when I was like, researching and reminding myself, like what the deal with this was.
Yeah.
That apparently those swimming scenes were really difficult to film.
Yeah.
Particularly for Tool, because he was always the one that had to swim across the channel.
Right.
And then the water was really cloudy, and there were boats going back and forth the whole time.
Yeah.
So it was just like really, really challenging to film.
Right.
So every time he has to jump in that water and swim across, I feel so bad for him now that I know that, now that I've read that article.
Yeah.
But so they have this conversation where basically they're like, they decide this is not going to be an issue. We're not going to make it weird. We're going to be friends.
Right.
Right? Like, we know this thing has happened between us, but we're going to be friends.
Yeah.
And for both of their parts, right? So like, Korn is like, I'm sorry, I didn't realize that this was going to affect you this way, right? Like, we were drinking. I thought that this was like copacetic between the both of us. Like, and so he's like, I'm sorry if I have like made you feel some kind of way.
Right.
And like, I care about you and I care about your feelings. And Knock is like, I don't blame you. I'm not mad at you. I just feel weird about it.
Yeah.
He's like, can we just pretend it didn't happen?
Yeah.
Because he's like, I don't want us to not be friends.
Yeah. Because for Knock, there's like this extra layer of like, oh, there's like a sexuality like realization here that he.
Well, and also he's cheated on his girlfriend fully.
Yeah.
Right.
There's a lot more layers for Knock than Korn just like hooking up with his best friend.
Yeah. And so they actually handle it, I think, in a very emotionally mature way. And they literally move on and are like buds the rest of the series. And then, and then we fast forward to the Knock has had to move in with Korn because the girlfriend
just say the girlfriend.
The girlfriend.
Yeah.
Because there are too many P names in BL world that we're never going to get this right. Yeah. Because the girlfriend has like sicked the sports science soccer team on them.
Yeah, the boy that she's cheating on Knock with.
Right.
He wants to like prove himself to this girl.
By helping her keep her boyfriend?
Yeah, makes
sense. It's a very weird. Anyways, they have like gone over to Knock's house to like beat them up. And so this decision is made that Knock is going to move in with Korn because it's like safety in numbers.
Duh.
Sure. And then they have to share a bedroom.
Obviously.
That's
a big trope in BL where like for some reason they have to move in together.
And they have to
share a bed.
Right. The trope is like hijinks ensue. Now you have to share a bed.
Obviously.
Although what I appreciate is that hijinks ensue in You're My Sky and they actually don't share a bed. There's like a buildup, like they're gonna remember.
True.
Oh, okay, this is about Together With Me, not You're My Sky.
Yeah, genius.
Trope breaking.
Yeah.
And so they have this conversation because Korn has said to Knock, like, is it okay if I like you as more than a friend? Right? He's like, I want you to know I still have these feelings. And he's like, is this okay with you? And Knock just kind of like doesn't really say anything. And then later on, fast forward, there's another conversation where Knock and he's like, yes. And then they're buds. They're watching TV together. They're playing games. They're doing their bud thing, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like that's so emotionally mature the way they're handling it in that specific instance.
Right.
And then, of course, there's a conversation when Knock is like, I also, and their feelings, and they kiss, and then the girl is taking pictures on the rooftop across the way, and it's a whole thing. And so what's interesting to me is all of this emotional maturity is underscored by the emotional immaturity that happens. Like, simultaneously.
It's because he's very much compartmentalizing, right? Where he's like, okay, when I'm in this room with my best friend who I actually am in love with, I get single-minded and forget about any ramifications of my life outside of this bedroom, right? Like he's fulfilling that feeling within that moment. But then when he has to go out in public, right? When those photos get out and the whole university, he like is
right,
like,
there's like a flyer that's
like
distributed.
He's like, it's photoshopped. Like this isn't real. He's like trying to protect himself. And then like when he goes to his girlfriend, he's like, oh, he's just my best friend. Like I'm not actually
it's
gay.
not even that emotional immaturity that I'm talking about. I'm talking about when Korn's ex-boyfriend shows up in the library and Nock is like visibly upset. He's like, oh yeah, you're the ex-boyfriend I've heard so much about, right?
Yeah.
Like he's very sad. He's very like type in Tarn-Type season 2, sassy, confident, whips open that curtain to go tell off the girl that's coming for his man kind of situation. Like it's very much that kind of situation. And I'm like, hey man, come on now.
But and he's like, what if he has a boyfriend already? And it's like, well, he doesn't. So you need to step back.
And also, like, why are you so mad at his ex? And like, he very much is like, he's kind of acting like a petulant child. Like, this is my toy, and even though I'm not playing with it, no one else is allowed to play with it.
Yes. I remember watching this for the first time and being so annoyed with Nock with the fact that like he wanted his cake. Or he wanted to have his cake and eat it too. Right. And the same thing where he's like, if I don't get it, I don't want anyone to get it. Where it's like, all these things where he can't quite figure out how to have it all. And like be the nice guy. That trope shows up a lot of times in BLs and just entertainment in general, where people are trying to play the nice card. Like, I'm trying to not hurt anybody.
Right.
And it's like, no, just figure out what you want and be honest about it. And then everything else will fall into place because people then know exactly where they stand with you, instead of you trying to like suppress your feelings for this boy that you're obviously in love with because you don't think that you should be putting this girl through something, but like you're obviously putting this girl through something just by like suppressing these feelings
and putting yourself through something and putting Korn through something. Everybody's going through something.
So much so. Okay, so let's talk about the side characters a little bit
because they're
so many,
mostly amazing,
and all the side couples are incredibly problematic. So we have short shout out or short like addressing of the teacher and the student.
Ooh, I hate this storyline so much.
Because it's the teacher is Korn's sister.
Right.
Who is a whole thing. She's like,
she gets mad at him for being gay, but then it is like, I'm not saying I'm mad at you for being gay, but also how dare you, and you should think about our parents.
Yeah. And then she like doesn't have this romance with this student until after
she does.
Right. And then she's like, if I want to be with this boy, I think he graduates they finally like they take it slow, like they do it.
The idea, which I actually don't support this trope or this storyline at all, but the idea is that he's a graduating senior and she's a very young first year lecturer.
Yeah.
And so the idea is that it's actually not that much of an age difference is the thought process. But the problem I have with it are the power dynamics. Yeah. You know how I feel about the power dynamics. And like, regardless of whether or not she doesn't officially get with him until after, she is playing like she as his teacher, because he's in her class. She's not just a teacher at the school. He is he's enrolled in her class.
Yeah.
Falls asleep in a classroom with him, like casual, laying on each other.
Yeah.
And then tries to say that like she's not emotionally she's not like having some sort of emotional relationship with this kid, even though like she knows he likes her because he has made it very clear. And she continues to like, she's like, I want to be with you, but I can't, and you need to stay away from me. And it's like, no, that's not how you handle that in that situation, because you as the adult, regardless of whether it's like a cis male female like dynamic,
right,
where typically the men are in power, like no, you as the grown-up are the one in power. And not only are you a grown-up, you are also his teacher, so there's like a double dose of power dynamics there. And this kid is like, we see and we're explained to that like he might not graduate. He's like having a hard time graduating, right? Like he's really like trying to get through this class so he can graduate, right? So like not only is she his teacher, but it's like he needs that class, otherwise he's not gonna graduate, right? There are like actual stakes here for him,
right?
And she's the grown-up, and later on he finds out that is one of his best friend's older sisters. So there's like another power dynamic there.
Yeah.
And so because she then has power over like his friendships.
Yeah.
Right. And so like, I hate it so much. I think that she handles it super poorly the whole time. I hate all of that. Like, I hate it so much. I do
find it so funny to go into the next side storyline is that they love the May-December romances for the side story.
Yeah.
Like both side stories are like an older with a younger. And so then you have the next one, which is such an interesting thing where there's so many dynamics. And this is truly like the stereotype of the stereotype for gay relationships, right? Where it's like you have this like older gay who's promiscuous, who like does all these things, who's like hooking up in the bathroom. And there's this like younger gay who's like discovering his sexuality and like figuring out who he is and like falls in love, like truly.
So we're talking about Farm and Dr. Bright.
Yes. And like truly is like puppy dog, like follows him around and is like pursuing this guy. And this guy is like, I am who I am. And like,
you can't change me. You like, can't lock me in a box.
You have to accept who I am. And it was funny because it was one of those things where I was like, where does the storyline go in the second season? And so I was like, has somebody made a Bright Farm cut? Because that would be wild. And somebody did. And I was like, because I didn't finish watching.
Honestly, Bright Farm is what you never finished Together with Me or Together with Me.
The second one.
Okay. Yeah. Bright Farm is the storyline that I 2 times through. I also 2 times through The Teacher and the Kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because let me tell you, when Bright, played by Porsche, when he turns it on, it's a little bit scary because he's like on.
It is very like, I'm just gonna say it's pretty sexually intimidating.
Yeah.
Like it's here. Okay. I also hate this storyline again because of power dynamics, because not only is he the grown-up again, and he's like very much the grown-up, right? Like he's not only a grown-up, he is like a full doctor that has graduated from medical school,
right? Which
is like extra schooling, right?
So he's potentially in his late 20s, early 30s, and this boy is at least 18 or 19.
Well, we think he might be 19, 20 is our guess based on, but still, right? Not great, not great. And he's not a senior in college, right? Like there's not even close to some semblance of, And so there's a very large age discrepancy, which is a power dynamic in the sense of like maturity, right? Because those are 2 very different life experiences that are going on there.
I mean, in and out of college, I remember my first year out of college, I was like, this feels so different than just last year.
But they are also doctor-patient, right? Because Farm has like a little arrhythmia situation at one point and has to go into the hospital.
Because the doctor is making him feel things.
Yeah.
And fluttering.
So he is also his patient. Not only is he a grown-up, he's also his patient. But then on top of that, he's also his friend's cousin. So there's like another
so many layers.
All
these characters are connected in some way. There's no single person not connected to this group.
And I hate it so much because he very much, I tried to stick with it to be like, where is this going? And the way that he emotionally and sexually manipulates this kid is just like really upsetting to me.
Yeah, especially with the birthday like orgy that happens. Real rough.
Really, really upsetting for me. And I just cannot.
And then of course. And
then he also tries to hit on Korn at one point.
Of course it turns where Farm then is like, has discovered his gay awakening and is like, I'm gonna be a playboy too. Right. And Bright is like, what? Wait, what? Like, you can't do this. Like, I'm gonna now pursue you, and I'm not normally like this. And like, you need to come back to me.
But it makes me so sad for Farm because Farm is such like a
sweet boy.
He's such a sweet, nice boy, and he has all of these like this. He's in love. Right. And he wants that like relationship
like his
aspect.
First love. Yeah.
And he's like, he becomes jaded and just like almost like dead eyed. And shout out to the actor that plays Farm because he's also in Paint with Love.
Yeah.
And he does an amazing job in Paint with Love too. Right. But like the way that he very subtly shifts is pretty amazing. But I hate that. I hate that storyline, which is really interesting. Again, because I do think that Dr. Bright has some like nice moments.
Yeah.
Or maybe not nice moments. That's a bad word for it. I think that Dr. Bright has some very impressive acting moments. I guess is what I would say.
Also, I will say he does set some clear boundaries in the beginning, but at some point he's like, okay, this boy likes me. I like boys. Like, I'm going to go for it. But all along, it's one of those, it's that trope that like we all hate, and we hate it in real life, where they say one thing, but they do another thing. Right. And it's this whiplash of like, but your actions are not lining up with what you're saying, where you're saying like, hey, I'm putting up boundaries. Like, hey, this is me. But you're like making out in the background,
right?
Where it's like, you need to choose one or the other. And everybody's warning Farm. Although, so this then leads into one of truly the best moments in this show, where all the friends are sitting in the living room, and Poobet finds out that literally all of his guy friends are gay. He's like,
do I have to be
gay? And Yua has a great line where she's like, okay, let's
try it.
Let's table this conversation about you figuring out who you want to hook up with to see if you're gay. And like, let's figure out the knock girlfriend evil plan.
My favorite line with her is not that part. My favorite line in that situation is where she just looks at him and she's like, maybe try it then. She's like, because it's such a stupid thing to say. It's well, do I have to be if all my friends are gay? Like, that's stupid. And like has a tinge of homophobia to it.
Yeah.
And Yua, world's best, is literally like, I don't know, why don't you try it then? You tell me.
Yeah.
Like, it's very much like Oscar in The Office when he's like, what responsibility do I have here? When Andy is like, Oscar, do you think I'm gay? Yeah. He's like, what responsibility as a gay man do I have here? It's very much like the same dynamic.
And that character is such a sweet character because he's being earnest about it. Like he's like fully embracing, like he's like, well, if everybody else is gay because they've tried it, like maybe I should try it to know if I'm gay. Like it's one of those like funny.
Yeah, but again, the other thing with Dr. Bright is like when he decides he's gonna hit on Corn, because there's classic BL trope misunderstanding, a familial misunderstanding.
Oh, right.
So Knock breaks his leg in the soccer game, which I love a BL with soccer in it because I love soccer.
Yeah.
And
this is a very violent BL, really. Like when you think about it,
violent.
MaxTul get beat up a lot in this
I
show.
would say there are a lot of similarities between this and Together, which is really funny considering the name similarities.
Amazing.
Together is just like the sweeter, fluffier cotton candy version, a little bit with and like add music.
Yeah.
But so Knock has broken his leg in this soccer game, and they go into the hospital, and Knock and the doctor speaking, and Knock and Dr. Bright are speaking very familiarly with each other. Yeah. And Corn is going through it over this. He's like, why is this doctor hitting on my friend / the boy I have a crush on? And Corn is just going through something with this. And he literally, to the point where he's paying or something, or checking them out. And Dr. Bright is with Knock, and Corn turns around and looks at them and is upset about it. Mm-hmm. And because he thinks that Dr. Bright is hitting on Knock. And he thinks that Knock is interested in Dr. Bright because Knock is being really friendly and whatever with him and PPP, right? And all this stuff. And then
do we think that Corn and Bright kind of are familiar with each other because they all frequent that same club and the gay circle?
So
maybe they all kind of know each other.
They kind of allude to this, and the answer, at least according to Corn, is no, because this is what sets off Farm getting to know Dr. Bright. Corn is I need you to keep an eye on this guy because he sucks and I hate him.
Right.
And so Farm then goes and asks Dr. Bright for tutoring help.
Yeah.
And this is what kicks off Farm and Dr. Bright.
Yeah.
And they go back for a checkup, Corn and Knock do, for Knock's leg.
Right.
And Dr. Bright is again, they're really familiar and blah, 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 and all this stuff. And you find out later on that Dr. Bright is telling Knock, hey, your friend Corn is cute. He's actually interested in Corn.
Yes.
And they're cousins.
Right.
So Dr. Bright and Knock are cousins. And still, Corn doesn't know this.
Right.
And he's going through it, and he asks Farm, he's invite him out for a drink with us, so we can go drinking.
Yeah.
Because he's trying to get details.
Yeah.
And it's super funny because they're plotting on the phone and like texting, which is very together actually.
Yeah.
When Mike's character is trying to like get with Top and he like pretends to be a girl looking for advice online.
Like you do.
And they're like plotting online. They're like texting Dr. Bright to like come out for this drink.
Yeah.
And one of the girlfriends walks in on them and they like freak out. And it's like a very like, you know, infomercial, drop everything in your hands kind of moment, which is so funny. And then they go out for this drink and there's a conversation that happens between Korn and Dr. Bright because Dr. Bright is like, he's coming on to Korn. He's like, now's my moment. I'm seizing my opportunity.
He like
Here's my chance.
He has those saint sex eyes.
This is when he turns it on. And again, this man is like kind of sexually intimidating. It's a lot. And he's like chatting with him and he's like, haven't I seen you here before? Don't we frequent this place together? And like, you know, it's the classic, like, you come here often kind of conversation.
Right.
And Korn is like, no, I never come here. I've never seen you before. We don't know each other. Like all of this stuff.
Right.
But yes, so according to the doctor, yes, maybe they're kind of familiar. But according to Korn, no.
Right.
And Korn doesn't strike me as the kind of boy that like goes out trolling for hookups.
No.
Yeah.
He seems like a relationship boy.
Yeah.
For as much as he goes through it over Knock this whole.
Yeah. So I'm going to say no. That whole night is also very funny because this is when
the girl gets left at the club all night.
Yes. So also another fun fact about Farm is he has a girlfriend. So he's also cheating on his girlfriend, although she's the Earth's worst. She also is trying to get with Dr. Bright.
Yes, because all those like girlfriends are all conspiring against the gays.
The bad girls. The bad girls are conspiring against the gays. Girls versus gays in this situation. Yes. You hate to see it. We hate to see it.
Yeah. And then there's Yua.
And then there's Yua, who's a perfect specimen.
And Fa.
Yes, Yua and Fa, perfect specimens of humans. We love them. Yeah. But yeah, there is there's an axis of evil.
Yeah.
An axis of evil girlfriends. We hate to see it. We hate girls as the villains, but it is what it is.
This truly has like the two extremes, right? Where I feel like this show has like all the things, right? Where it's like we have the older girl and the younger man. We have the older man and the younger boy. We have the bad girl and we have the good girlfriend. Like we have literally everything.
You have this show has everything.
It's true.
And so she is like partying with her friends and she's like fully flirting with boys at the club. And then Farm walks up and she's like, oh my God, Farm, I didn't even have anything to drink tonight. I'm allergic to alcohol. Yeah. And he's like, wow, you must be a lightweight. Your face is really flushed. And I don't think he means to be sassy.
Yeah.
But it's so funny to me. And so somehow, magically, from the time Farm goes to the bathroom to the time Farm gets back to the table, Dr. Bright is wasted.
Yes.
Somehow. I don't know how this happened.
Those blue drinks.
One blue drink.
Those blue drinks are strong.
Which, by the way, if you're curious about the blue drinks like we are, we actually asked William about this.
Yeah.
We were like, William, is this a thing? Drink? Like, what is the drink? Like, can we order it if we go out to like a Thai restaurant? Like, what is this? And
Give
he
me
was
that
like,
blue drink.
He literally said, no, I think that's just for TV. That's not a thing. So there's your answer if you're curious about it.
It's the same thing with like the wine in Thai dramas where like it's clearly not even.
It doesn't even look like wine. It drives me crazy because they're big on wine right now. Wine is in every drama right now.
Do we have that trope in Western dramas where there's a thing, there's like a food or a drink that they always drink that clearly, I guess here's what it is. It's empty cups. We love empty cups in shows and you can tell when they're empty and it drives me crazy. It's like the cell phone thing where like the K-dramas do it so well because they are always actually making a call.
Right.
In Western dramas, for some reason.
Oh, you mean like when they pick up a cup and you can tell there's not weight to it?
Yes.
I see.
Or they like are holding a cup and it's clearly
like this
weightless.
way.
Yeah. It's like, come on, be better.
Yeah, I guess I would say like maybe the only similarity is like vampire shows in the West with the vampire blood. It's always like very hit or miss.
Yeah.
Like
that makes sense.
Yeah, maybe that's the same. But anyways, that's not the point of this conversation.
We always digress.
We digress. So, it's super funny. Dr. Bright is super wasted and they end up having to take him home.
I know the car situation I can't figure out.
Well, so basically Farm has ridden his motorbike to the club.
Oh, okay.
And he's supposed to be taking his girlfriend home, but Corn is like, hey, I need help. Can you help me get him home?
Right.
And so Farm is like, here, I'm going to leave you with my motorbike key, the girlfriend.
Right.
And he's like, I'm going to come back for you. But here's the keys just so you know I'm coming back. Like, you have my motorbike key, right?
Yeah.
And then they take Corn's car to drop Dr. Bright off.
Right.
And then there's a whole situation with Dr. Bright and Corn where Corn is like, no, bro.
Yeah.
And then this is the first time that
Love how Corn pieces out, leaves Farm.
Well, because he thinks that Farm. This is what when we rewatched this, you were very confused at this scene, and I tried to explain at the time. Corn thinks that Farm has already gotten a car back to the club to go get his motorbike and his girlfriend,
even though Farm left. Corn left first.
Right,
because he storms out.
Right, so he's like, I'm going to put the doctor on the couch. You go move the car because it's blocking people.
Right.
Put the keys here, right? Like, he's like, you go move the car, leave the keys, right? And so Corn thinks
he's going to move the car and bring the keys back.
No, because the keys are in the car.
Oh, okay.
He's like, he thinks he's moved the car, and then he, instead of coming back in, just got a car back to the club to go get his girlfriend.
But when
he got like a grab taxi or whatever.
When he had to bring the keys back to Dr.
The keys
Bright,
are in the car. That's how Corn gets home. Corn like storms out.
Oh, okay.
That's how Corn gets home.
Oh, because it's his car. Yeah.
So that's what I'm telling you is like when Farm leaves after, like when Corn is putting Dr. Bright on the couch, Corn thinks, okay, he's gonna move the car and then get a car back to the club.
Yeah.
He like, it doesn't occur to him that he should like wait for him or they should meet back up, because he's like, because in Corn's mind, Corn is going home and Farm is going back to the club to get his girlfriend.
Yeah.
But he doesn't. He ends up hooking up with Dr. Bright that night and never coming home, and also leaving their girlfriend all night long at the club, covered in mosquito bites.
Oh yeah, the mosquito bites.
She deserves it.
Yeah.
She's a weirdo.
Yeah, and then they conspire. All the girls conspire for the rest of the show, and there's like
also Farm's girlfriend tries to turn him straight, which we really hate to see.
Yeah, that I did not like.
I hated that. Ugh.
And the poor boy just kind of accepts it and is like, he's young. He like doesn't fully know what he wants and is willing. He's like a baby Knock, where he's like, tell me what I am. Help me figure out what to do.
Honestly, justice for Farm. Like, the underlying message of this show is just justice for Farm.
True. Because then he turns into like an F-boy in season 2.
He's this like jaded.
I know,
I hate
so
it.
sad.
I hate
so
it.
anyways, the show ends with Corn and Knock figuring it out.
They figure it out. They get there. Spoiler, it's a BL. They get together in the end.
In the most dramatic way. Corn has to rescue Knock from the river.
Yes.
Gives him CPR.
Yes.
Clearly, like, Knock is joking. And then Corn is so mad at him. And there's this, like, fun little moment, this, like, back and forth bantering. And then we, like, end the show, them sitting together. Yiwa puts their hands together. And they, like, she then disappears. And they're, like, looking out into the river.
I love and hate this ending scene because, again, now that I've read this article about how that scene was so hard to film, especially because if you think about, so again, also this scene has the paper airplanes, which is so sweet when he's like sending the paper airplanes across with his messages, like when they were kids.
Oh my
god. So I also love that.
Yeah.
But when he jumps into the river, I'm like, again, because I've read this article about Tool, and Tool was talking about how hard it was to film those scenes. I was like, this must have been like traumatizing to film, because not only are they having to deal with actual boat traffic, the water is cloudy, and then Tool has to pretend to drown.
Yeah.
So like he's already kind of struggling and like at risk of drowning.
Right.
And then he has to fake drowning. And I was like, it really stresses me out to watch it now. Now that I know.
Tool is truly committed to his art.
Yes, Tool is. Yes, we love to see it. But I also, the ending is very sweet. I love the paper airplanes. I think that's my favorite part of the ending scene.
Yeah, I really like this show, and I liked it because it's so different than like those early BL dramas, and it is truly so dramatic.
My favorite part of this show was that, because again, I watched this pretty early on in my BL journey.
Right.
And still to this day, it stands up, even though we're starting to get a little bit more of this. I love seeing all of the scenes outside of Bangkok and the university, right? Because they go back to their hometown like pretty frequently throughout the show.
Right.
And I loved, and I don't think we see this in any other drama except for, you see it a little bit in Not Me. The like river market and the river homes, and like the homes that are like straight up on the river. Like, again, it's a different province. It's like Bangkok, right? It's like different, but I feel like Together With Me is really, really unique in that I can't think of any other BL that is in that setting. You see a lot that are set in like Chiang Mai now. There's a lot of Chiang Mai now.
Right.
But I don't remember. And then you have It's A with Phuket.
Right.
But I can't think of any others that are like a river village.
No. I can't think
Which
of it
is very cool to see as like a foreigner that like I have never been to Thailand, and this is like a whole new culture, and like I am sad a little bit that like almost the only things I see are Bangkok and Chiang Mai, because there's so much more. Thailand is a big country with like a lot of culture and a lot of different things, and so it's just really cool for me that there was this like other very unique setting that I hadn't seen in anything else.
I also love that MaxTul went from this series into Manner of Death.
I love that so much.
Like, they truly graduated and like did something so different. I can't wait to see what MaxTul does
again
next.
Set outside of Bangkok in Chiang Mai.
Yeah. What are we gonna get from MaxTul?
What is this? Because we all have heard, but if you're a MaxTul fan, which we are, and so like we have been on like a few of the fan meetings that have happened, or a couple of the fan meetings that have happened. And they keep teasing this show that like we know is coming out.
Right, because they had that like TV Thunder.
They're under a TV Thunder contract.
Yeah. They had that like reveal of all the TV Thunder shows. So like we know that there's something coming.
We know there's something coming, but I'm dying to see what it is.
Yeah. And if you've made it this far in the series Sunday, there's going to be some Together With Me related.
What day does this series Sunday come out? Like
tomorrow.
Date specifically.
No.
Okay.
Yes, tomorrow?
We're filming this a day before. Peek inside our recording schedule.
It comes out the 27th. Are you releasing March on the 28th?
Are we releasing? I think we're releasing it on the 28th.
I say we say it.
If you've made it
this
50
far.
minutes in.
Yeah.
I don't want to say it. I'm scared.
Then don't say it. Listen, if you're a loyal listener, you know what's coming.
Do you though? Because we have gotten so many DMs and only one person has guessed.
Yeah.
Only one person has guessed the right guess. We've had a ton of DMs with a ton of guesses because we keep being like, March is crazy, y'all. You don't even know.
Yeah.
And we've had a ton of DMs with a ton of guesses, and only one person has guessed correctly.
Yeah.
I feel like you know at this point, right? If we're talking about it on this series Sunday.
Yeah.
It's Tool.
Yeah.
Tool will be on the podcast in March.
We have 2 actors from this show, not Max. Don't get your hopes up.
Not Max. Not in March though. The other actor from the show is April. Yeah.
Oh. Well, I can't keep track of all the boys that we're talking to.
Yes. So Tool will be joining us on Let's Talk BL in mid-March.
Yes. He's wonderful. Let's just say he's everything you'd want him to be and more.
And if you voted in the polls that I put up in a couple of places about whether or not we should cut down a very long interview.
Yeah. It's Tool.
It's Tool.
Does that change your answer?
We had a few people that were like, cut it down, you crazy person, which is respectable. But would it change your answer?
Yeah. So we have merch. Go to Shopify.
It's shop.letstalkbl.com.
Yeah. It's fun stuff. What else? There's lots of fun things coming. There's something else that's in the works that we're super excited
that we can't. There are 2 things that we can't talk about yet.
We can't talk about yet that we're going to be able to talk about in March.
I hate when people do this when they're like, so much stuff happening and I can't talk about it, but it's going to be crazy. And now we're those people. I hate that.
But pay attention. Don't get bored of us yet.
I'm bored of us.
It's true.
I don't know what to tell you.
Okay, this has been Let's Talk BL. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow all things Let's Talk BL at Let's Talk BL. We'll see you next time.